You know the law of attraction? The law of attraction. The principle of what we feed grows. Basically, when we focus on what's going wrong, we end up with more to complain about. And when we focus on what's going right, we end up with more reasons to be grateful. Well, it's simple and its efficacy is inarguable. Promotions of the law of attraction, however, have really emphasized individualism and consumerism. And so the law of attraction has received pretty harsh criticism, which I think, it's for good reason. Now let's go off topic for a second and talk about reality. Have you ever seen the meme where it says like, over here are problems that are real, and over here are problems that are in your head? Like the in your head part, that's subjective reality. How we're doing is mostly subjective. And then the objective reality is what is actually real. Like the earth is round, gravity exists, death is inevitable. But there's this really interesting gray zone of inner subjective reality. This is where enough people believe something that's subjective, but enough people believe it that it has objective consequences, like the standards of beauty, the borders of country, the borders of countries, the value of money. All of these things are intersubjective. So we're going to circle back around to that later. There's, as I mentioned, the thing about like the law of attraction receiving harsh criticism. For example, in the book The Secret, people brag about like multi-million-dollar homes and Barbie perfect wives and new cars, and there's not a single mention of increasing access to education or clean water. It's a good example of how any tool can be a weapon. So the focus on gaining material wealth and feeding consumerism is rife with exploitation and the degradation of ecosystems. This is an objective truth. A good life shouldn't be about getting more stuff or status or anything external that benefits the individual at the expense of others. The holistic application of this knowledge would be to manifest in a way that benefits everyone. And here's how to do it. Cultivate a sense of oneness with others. Because when we're truly tuned in to the interconnectedness of all of life, we don't want things that harm others. If we're tuned in to the fact, the objective truth that we're all one species living on one planet, what harms you harms me. So here's the second little detour. I want to talk for a second about inner worth, valuing oneself, because worthiness, I think, is the deepest wound in the Western psyche. And I'm going to tie together worthiness and that increasing that sense of oneness by demonstrating the reverse. When we lack self-worth, we have worthlessness, which comes from and of course feeds disconnection, isolation. Living in an emotionally subjective reality of separation forms a bottomless pit of craving. It feeds the illusion that someone or something out there can make us feel better. And we end up wanting things that harm others because we are disconnected from their pain. So to build a base to that bottomless pit of craving in isolation, we must increase our sense and sensitivity to the interconnectedness of all that is. And if we value what we're connected to, we automatically see ourselves as worthy. Then we manifest not for the separate individual, but for the connected collective. From that grounded base, we experience love instead of loneliness, trust instead of anxiety, optimism instead of dread, generosity instead of scarcity. Because those aren't emotions, those are attitudes. Emotions are just information. And emotions are very temporary. Toxic positivity suppresses. So we're not trying to block out any emotions. Attitudes are habitual. The trick to doing any kind of manifesting is to do it in the here and now. So to recap the basic 101 level directions for manifestation, it's if you want to change your life, use your thoughts to evoke the feelings that you want to have. Feeling is the magic ingredient. Feel now what it will be like to have what you want. Because we make decisions based on emotions, you'll naturally start to behave in ways that will lead to your desired outcomes. Now, here's what I'm adding for the sake of all living creatures, all living beings, all of life. Don't stop there. Manifest not just for you as a separate individual, but manifest for all of life. Think of the world not as a linear chain, but as a spherical web. Think about how valuable life is, how precious it is, and that you don't exist without it. Then manifest a world where everyone is free, where there's enough for everyone. We can create an intersubjective reality where that's true, but only if enough of us are living from the base of the sensitivity and the sense of the interconnectedness of all that is.